good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are tuned in from. Welcome to another episode of What Now? Let's see if Instagram is trying to let me be great. No, it is not. Okay, let me see if I can. I'm just going to get it done. Let's see. Boom. There we go. Bam. Bam. And we're back. Yes. Let's hope Instagram stays working with me, and let's hope that I can get my guest today in here, because on Monday, as you guys know, it was my 1-year anniversary. I did not have the option to put in guests because Instagram is acting a fool. But this is the last day of March, and I got a new guest coming up. I stay having a motivational and inspirational guests, and I'm excited to talk to this person who is a great producer, who has a lot of industry knowledge, who's been in this game for years and years and years. And so without further ado, I'm just going to try and get him in here, and hopefully Instagram lets me be great. Although it was a great episode last Monday, you know, me being my own guests and having all the people tuned in. It's, you know, I always make it work. So let's see if I can get Buddah in here. If you have any questions for him, please refer to the question box, and I will later down in the interview. Let's see if this is going to work. Yes, it works. Awesome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm so happy Instagram is letting me live today.
Yeah,
So,
I watched Monday, and I was like, okay, let's see how this is going to go today.
you know, improvise. I can improvise. I've been in this game a little longer too. Thank you for throwing in the questions. That was really nice. I appreciate you for
We
the
gotta help
support.
each other.
Yes.
We gotta help each other.
It's good seeing you.
Good to see you too. Like, you know, we've talked a lot, but we haven't really seen each other. And hopefully in the near future, once you can travel or I can travel, we meet each other.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's all, like, we're putting that all out there. But, you know, having talked to people so much, you just sometimes don't realize you've never seen each other. Like, true. It's just like, oh wait, I haven't seen you before, at least not live. So I appreciate you being a guest today.
Thank you for having me.
It's interesting because, again, you know, I keep resorting back to this Clubhouse situation, but that is where I meet all these great people that I think should be great guests for my platform. So hearing your story for the first time, well, not necessarily your story, but just, you know, hearing here and there in the hallway what you've done, I was like, okay, I need to talk to this person. And we've been in the same rooms, and I heard you speak on the knowledge you have. So I was like, ooh, I'm inspired. So yes.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here.
I'm gonna try to be a little less fidgety than my man was the other day.
Lord. Yo, it made for some funny shit though. Like, I can't even, you know, it was a little different.
No, that's my dude. That's my dude.
Yeah, you know what? That's my dude too, and that's why we can joke about it. That's why we can call each other out on that. I want to shout out all the people that I see jumping in. Nope, Glenn, all the people that support me, Box. Everybody's been there pretty much from day one, or whenever they saw this. They just been keeping on this live. So I hope everybody's still getting inspired by my guests. As everybody knows, maybe for the people that are new in here, tuning in through Buddah, this platform, this series was created to inspire and motivate people during times of pandemic where the creative industry was pretty much shut down. Most of the producers that I spoke to didn't really have that much change because they're cooped up in their studios doing what they do. How has it been for you, Buddah? How were the effects of the pandemic in your life?
Well, fortunately, I created an environment for myself where I can do everything that I need to do in my own area. So, I mean, it really hasn't changed other than, you know, as far as dealing with other people, you know, in person for the most part.
Right.
And also too, I'm in Atlanta, so, you know, in Georgia, things wasn't. It's not as tight. It's not as tight as it is everywhere else. You know, I mean, I want to just start by saying that I want to dedicate this whole thing to my partner Shamello.
Right. Yes.
Like we wouldn't even be having this conversation today. You wouldn't even care who I am if it wasn't for this dude, you know. And he recently passed away, and going forward, I'm going to try to keep his memory alive. And did I just say try? I'm going to keep his memory alive.
We're going to do that. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And everything I do moving forward is in memory of him. So I just want to start with that. All right.
Yes. And of course, my condolences to you. I didn't know him. I was not fortunate enough to meet him or talk to him, but you know, seeing the many people that he's touched in the industry, I can only imagine how great he was. So my condolences to you.
All I can say is if you never met Mello, it's your loss, because that was the dude. That was the guy to know. Like,
well, I have to get to know him through you and everybody else. So
most
that's how
definitely,
we
most
keep his
definitely,
spirit alive.
most definitely. But yeah, so the pandemic really it didn't really mess me up too much at all. Really, I have within my home, I can do everything from my photography to my music to whatever. And then we have a building not too far away that's like maybe like 10 minutes away. My partner Fran and I, we do whatever we need to do. I mean, Fran set it up like for us to be able to do whatever we need to do, and it's
Right.
just a blessing. You know, actually, I set a building. It's actually two buildings, one right next door to each other, and studio, full psych wall for photography, event space. And we were actually, that's what the pandemic did. We were actually in the process of starting a school.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, we were in the
In those
process of starting
buildings. Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
second building. We were starting a school, the Snellville Arts and Media Learning Center. And we were setting up classes and everything was ready to go. And then the pandemic hit, and it was kind of, you can't do in-person learning, you know what I'm saying? And we didn't know how it was really going to work. So there's a couple of things that are done right now online, but it's not the way that we had intended on doing it originally. So it kind of threw that definitely threw us off a little bit.
And so, you know, as far as work is concerned, I know you're still doing your thing. And aside from that, you know, the school wasn't really able to be put out there like you wanted to. Pretty much everything else is still going for you. And I know that with production, you don't necessarily need to be in the same space anymore. Was that something that you already did before? Were you working digitally already, or?
Yeah, well, when I've been in Georgia for about maybe in July, it'll be 13 years that I've been here.
Wow.
And when I decided to move, it was primarily based on the fact that I could do anything remotely because of the way that the world was moving.
Right.
We made sure that we were able to be on the cusp of a lot of different trends. And you know, when we were in this business since it was analog, right? And as it started to move over to a digital platform, you know, my partner, first and foremost, shout out to the Producer Coalition. I'm one of the members of the Producer Coalition.
Right. Yeah.
It's I'm going to continue to say that it's a 7-man group, even though one of us is in a spiritual form. And we have associate producers also that we rock with. Shout out to Female. But it includes myself, Shamello, DR Period, Chucky Madness, Joe Naughty, and Fran Lover, who I believe is on this feed right now. Yeah, I just yeah. So and then you know we when we saw it moving in a digital form, we started to switch up. My partner Joe is very, very technologically savvy, and we both consider ourselves kind of like computer geeks. So we started to notice that Apple was coming out with the same computer that they use in the big studios, but in a laptop format, and they were bringing an interface that you can actually use mobily. And the problem that we always had was, you know, you meet people in places and stuff, and they always give you a bunch of party talk. Hey, how you doing? Oh, yo, nice to meet you. I love your work. Oh, let's get together. Yo, we got to do something. We got to get in the studio. We got to do something. And then what happens? You never hear from them, right? So it's like, you know, we figure we get ahead of the game. We like, you know, look, if we can make this do the things the way we think we can make it do, then we can have surprises for people. So what we would do is we would go and we would have a full studio setup in our hotel room. And and people would be like, yo, let's get together, let's do something. Oh, yeah, sure. Come up to the room. I got a studio right there. And they'd be like, studio in the room? Because at this time, Pro Tools was only in studio.
Right. That was all new. That was like, how are you doing this?
Right. You know, it was only in studio. So they were like, so they'd come just out of curiosity.
Right.
Next thing you know, you got a song, you got them working. So you know what I mean.
Did you have like the MPCs and stuff with you at
We
that time?
well, what we did was, again, we transformed from the whole full setup to
Setup, yeah.
we started working within the computer.
Right, the
So
interface,
things like Reason.
Right.
I used to work with a guy by the name of Charles Farrar, one of the characters, and one time I was in his studio, and Charles and Troy, excuse me, and I'm in his studio, and he had these guys from Europe in there, and they were using Logic. Now, I had heard about Logic, but I didn't really know it. I'm thinking, okay, in the United States,
a lot of people over here use Logic.
right? I'm thinking Pro Tools is it, but what I learned was Pro Tools is it in the United States. Logic is it all over the world.
Right. Yeah. And
right?
Logic is the first software
DAW,
that I worked with. Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned that like years ago that Logic was one of the bigger formats. So we started working with a lot of different DAWs. So we didn't actually need to have the physical machines, even though we still have a lot of physical machines. You know, I mean, I got a machine sitting right here, MPC back there. You know what I'm saying? So, but we can do everything we need to do within the computer. So when people wanted to hear stuff, it was just like matter like boom. There was a time my man Sean B, who's been into in those rooms before, he took us up to Interscope one time, and he actually introduced us to Jimmy Iovine.
Oh wow!
And yeah. I mean, it was crazy because we were actually able to work. They were like, we want you to do a remix for something, and I think it was like four or five of us from the coalition that were there, and we were sitting in one of the rooms on our laptops working on beats. In the room, we didn't have to leave to go back to the hotel. We didn't have to go to a studio. We just were sitting there just working on stuff right there. So, in that respect, we were doing our best to change the game.
Yeah. And can I ask around what year that was, or years?
Okay,
what
so okay, so let's dial it back. Let's dial it back. It's probably about, I would say, 2000, 2001.
Okay.
About 2001, I think. About 2001, somewhere around there.
I saw somebody saying Logic and Cubase in Europe. You know what? He's absolutely right. I don't know who said it, but Cubase was the first interface
I used to use Cubase.
And then I
used to use Cubase too.
Yeah.
I used Cubase because when we were using things like Reason and we were using things like Pro Tools, again, everybody here thought Pro Tools was the shit.
And Pro Tools wasn't even that hip out here. Like,
but this is the thing though. Here, that's what everybody was using, right? So when using these DAWs like Reason and stuff like that, it wasn't easy to track your songs out, your beats out into the computer.
Yeah.
Right? Because they use this thing called Rewire in order to actually send everything out directly to every single track, to spread it out. Like most people, a lot of these kids now, when they're doing beats, they'll do it to just the MP3, which is a 2-track stereo, right?
Right.
But in order to get a full mix, you want to be able to spread everything out across the board.
Right.
And in order to spread all your sounds out, you had to use something called Rewire. And Pro Tools didn't have Rewire. So I was forced to learn how to use Cubase in order to actually
do all of
to do that, and then just to bring it back to Pro Tools, because that's what you know.
Okay, well, we're getting a little bit too technical. I want to take it a little bit back to, you know, you already was familiar, because that's what what this story came about, or this explanation about you already working digitally pretty much. So this pandemic didn't necessarily mess up your flow in collaborating with artists when it comes to production or being in studios. You moving to Atlanta and stuff. Okay, so going forward, we'll get back to your work. You know,
that's cool.
I'm on my format. Now I lost my train of thought. So going back to the pandemic. That's work-wise. As far as health-wise, personally, there's a lot of people that talked about you know, changing their health routines. You know, even Mr. Lee, I don't know if you saw that one, who reversed his whole diabetes by, you know, changing his diet and stuff. Like, there's a lot of information that people gave me through these lives, and people that are tuned in, that are helpful in dealing with this pandemic personally. What are some of the things that were really a hit for you and made you think about changing things up, if there were
Well,
any?
well, I was diagnosed pre-diabetic in 2019, and well, actually, probably 2018. I just didn't pay attention to them, right? And
Right.
in 2019, I had a birthday, a landmark birthday, and I saw some pictures of myself, and I thought, "Whoa, this dude looks very big." I didn't even really recognize myself in the pictures. So I actually made a change in 2019, and I lost a lot of weight. I lost about 50 pounds.
Wow, congratulations.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. And so now I consider it more of a lifestyle change. And I believe, honestly, that that lifestyle change might have saved my life, because recently in December, I was taken to the hospital because I thought I had a heart attack.
Mm.
And that wasn't necessarily the case. I think I passed out and I hit something when I fell. And in that happening, I honestly believe that had I still had all that weight on me,
Right. It might have hit you harder and
right,
maybe knocked you out the
exactly,
world.
exactly. So I honestly, I'm definitely an advocate for people, watching how they eat, and what they
Yeah.
eat, and stuff like that, and just being health conscious, very, very, very important.
Right. Was that was that the story of you hitting the bed or the side of the bed?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I remember that. Yeah. Well, we're happy
yeah.
that you're still here. And, you know, just for you being triggered by seeing your own photos, I mean, that's pretty interesting, because not a lot of people look at themselves like that, I guess. But when you're up at a certain age and you see it and you feel it, yeah, you may get triggered to make a change. Yeah.
Well, I'm a photographer also, so I take a
Okay.
lot of pictures. So I'm
Yes.
always on the back side of the camera,
Yes.
right? So for my birthday, which was a surprise party, I'm
You were
not
at the
even thinking
front.
about pictures. Everybody, now I'm in like 50, 100 pictures,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at all these pictures from all these different angles, and I'm not recognizing myself. So I'm like, you know
Right.
what? You need to do something. And fortunately, I have a good support team as far as my wife is concerned, as far as my partners are
Your
concerned,
partners. Yeah.
my family. You know what I mean? Like, I have a good support team, so everybody encouraged me. Hey man, you keep it up. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So,
Right.
and now it's really a lifestyle change. It's not. I,
Right.
I don't even consider it a diet anymore. It's a lifestyle change. Like my partner Fran, he doesn't even eat meat anymore. He just strictly fish and stuff like that. So, like,
Right.
you know, I'm not quite there, but I'm
So,
I'm doing
that's
I'm
okay.
doing better.
So what are some of the major changes for you as far as shifting your eating habits? We don't call it a diet, but eating habits, and then also maybe workout, exercise habits. What are some of the things that you changed in 2019 that you kept up with during the pandemic?
Okay, well, I ain't gonna lie to you. I haven't done any exercise. I
That's
lost the weight.
okay. That's
I
okay.
lost the weight without exercise, right? But
Well, can you imagine what you can do with exercise?
no, 100%. I get it. But Um, let's start with the simple things. I don't drink soda or juice.
Yeah,
I drink
very good.
water most of the time.
Yes,
If
me
I go to a
too.
restaurant, I'm ordering a water with lemon. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Don't get it twisted. I will have a drink from time to time, alcohol,
Yeah, occasionally. Yeah.
but I try to limit my sugar intake,
Right.
right? And I actually eat more now than I did before. And I don't mean in portion size. I mean in frequency, right?
Right.
To keep my metabolism going,
Yes.
and even more
Smaller
simple than
portions over the day
small.
is always better than big meals. Yeah.
And to make it even more simple, I make sure I chew my food, like really chew
I
my
heard you talk
food,
about
like
that earlier. Yeah.
yeah, I really chew my food, like I I was
Explain
one
to
of
us
those dudes.
why you chew your food.
Well, like I said earlier, like basically,
Yeah,
if
the
you
people
take
are tuned
two,
in.
if you take two blocks of ice, like two big blocks of ice, say 5 pound blocks of ice, and you put each one of them into a bucket of water, and the one in this hand is crushed and this one is solid, the crushed ice is going to dissolve faster because there's more, the surface area of each piece of ice can get hit with the
Yes.
water and melt faster. It's the
Yes.
same way that it works as far as your food and your digestion. If you have a big chunk of food in your stomach, that chunk of food is going to take a long time to
Or
get digested, and it's
yeah.
going to sit with you for a very, very long time. So, that's one of the. It's not rocket science. Like
Right.
I, I just try to be
Even
smart with what I do.
But even if you're not a big chewer, so to speak, cut your meat or cut your food like in
Cut
smaller
your food,
portions.
yeah,
Like if you
yeah,
don't like to chew a lot or your jaws hurt or whatever the hell
yeah.
case it may be, cut smaller sizes. Like
Now,
yeah. And so these
I
are the
don't eat
things.
pork.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't eat pork.
Yeah, I don't eat
I
pork
haven't
either.
I haven't I haven't eaten pork for like over 20 years, and
Wow.
I don't eat shellfish either. So
So
I don't know if that helps.
you're on the right track.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Or what
I'm
I
trying.
mean, you said earlier that your partner is completely off the meat and eats fish and stuff, and you're not there
Yeah,
yet. Is that a
yeah.
goal for you? Is that what is your goal? I mean, if you're doing good now, because not every diet or eating habits is the same for everybody. It doesn't have the same effect on everybody because everybody's body is different, and I've explained this before. So, what is your goal? Are you okay with the eating habits that you have right now, or are you
I,
still trying
I'm
to get somewhere?
I'm a work in progress. There's a lot of things that I have to learn about my body and
Right,
and and
right,
how it works. Like I still haven't seen the effects of my body with exercise, right? So
right.
my
Exactly.
lifestyle changed with exercise. So I mean, one of my things was I was gonna buy a bicycle
Right.
and ride around and start doing that stuff. And again, COVID hit. I tell my wife all the time, I'm gonna buy a bike, I'm gonna buy a bike. She's like, yeah, right. You ain't buying no bike. You ain't, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna buy a bike. Matter of fact, I promise you, I'm gonna get a bike sometime this week or next week. I'm gonna buy a bike.
Yeah, go ride your bike. So when you come to Amsterdam, we can ride bikes over here.
I don't know if I'm bringing a bike on a
No.
plane, but
I got one for you. I got one for you.
okay,
Um,
all right,
but
okay,
even just taking walks, like taking a half-hour walk around the block every day,
yeah.
make that a daily habit. That's people underestimate walking, what that does for you. Like,
Well, I actually monitor my movement with my watch. You know what I mean? So I definitely
all
try to
right,
make
right,
sure I
yeah,
meet my goals, even though I'm not actually doing like lifting weights or sit-ups and push-ups and stuff like that.
right.
I do try to make sure that I meet my movement goals, my standing goals, stuff like that, you know?
Right. So yeah, this is exactly why I keep asking people about this, because everybody does something different and everybody has different effects. So, you said you started, paying attention before COVID hit or the pandemic hit, and then maybe you would not even have been here, or maybe even if you got corona, God forbid, then maybe it would have taken you out because you were still unhealthy. So you just don't know what could have happened if you don't take charge. And the people that don't do anything now, they may take a lesson from this, like, okay, and I like the fact that you're honest, like, hey, you know what, I haven't done any exercise, because nobody's judging you here. Nobody, this is the free space, this is safe space. Thank you for
And Pay,
sharing that.
I wouldn't care if they were judging. I wouldn't care if they were judging, to be honest with you. Like,
Same.
I'm just, I'm
This
just
this is
saying.
my platform. Judge your way. I don't care either. Yeah, but it's mainly people take stuff away from this. And again, I have to keep complimenting Mr. Lee. Again, if you haven't seen this interview, you or anybody else that's tuned in, he changed his whole, perspective on health, and he is coming up with recipes or, things where he puts the Southern food in a vegan style. So I'm interested in that. Like, I don't care if it has nothing of animal stuff in there. If it tastes good, it tastes good. So
Well,
he
you know
made
what? I started eating veggie burgers too. I never used to do that, like Impossible burgers and stuff like
right.
that. I started eating veggie burgers. So I do, when I get a chance, I do those things, but I'm not completely gonna go vegan. Like
Right.
that's not
No,
gonna
no, no.
happen.
I
But
can't go vegan either. I tried it last year. I started January 1st, 2020, and then the pandemic hit, and I think I did it for like 5 months, and then I kind of fell off because, pandemic. And
right,
so with the veggie burgers, you just have to find a good brand because not all the brands have the good stuff. Like, and it's
right, right,
expensive.
right,
It's very expensive.
right, right.
All right. Thank you for sharing that on the health part and the personal effects of the pandemic. Moving into the inspirational part of you and your career. You've had a very interesting career. You're not necessarily a person that's in the spotlight. Producers nowadays are, artists themselves. I like the fact that you're more than just a producer. You're a creative person. What was for you the defining moment, if there was any, where you felt like, hey, I'm good at this. I can make money with this. I can make this my job.
Well, as far as music or as far as everything else, which one are you
Well,
talking
let's
about?
start with music.
Well, see, that's a loaded question because I kind of like an anomaly when it comes to this music thing because the first record I ever made went platinum.
Yes,
So
yes.
so with that being said,
You
it's
set
like
the bar
okay,
high for yourself.
yeah, with right off the gate, I kind of was like, okay, I can make money with this, you know.
Right.
However, I will say that Mello and I struggled for like 7 years trying to make this happen, trying to make it
Right.
happen, trying to learn and do all this. So what I will say is that success is when opportunity meets preparation,
Yes. Yeah.
because when the opportunity came around, I was prepared,
Yes.
and I had people on my team, namely Mello, who he always told me, yo, man, you can do that. You can do that. You can do that. Even when I didn't think I could do it, he was like, yo, you can make that happen. Like,
Right.
yo, no, I got faith in you. You can make that happen. And it would piss me off because I'm like, like, why am I the one that got to make it happen? He's like, nah, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? He's like, nah, you can do it. And we balanced each other well because my weaknesses were his strengths and his weaknesses were my strengths. And
Right.
we complemented each other well.
Right.
So, it worked out that way.
So
So that's it's
do you feel
right.
like that was having him as that motivator and the complementary part of yourself, where you were weak or lacking? Do you feel like that was an important factor in your success? Like you wouldn't have that success if that wasn't there.
Uh, that's a fact. Like
Right.
there's no denying that. Like if I didn't, when you're doing something like this, there's a lot of times when people, even when we did Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Could See, there's a lot of people that doubted what my role was.
Really?
Yeah, but the crazy thing is that Mello kept saying, "Don't worry about it." You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And he's like, "Yo, just on to the next biggest thing, the next bigger thing." And then we worked on an artist, and the first artist we worked on went platinum. So it was, a beautiful thing. Like, I
That was a
mean,
confirmation. Yeah.
it was a confirmation. Like we just kept working, and I would follow his lead, and he never claimed to know everything, and he would follow me when he didn't,
Right.
and it was like a perfect working relationship,
Right.
you know.
So was that
Oh, we
was that your defining moment, that success with the first record
for
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 you, for the
for
music side?
for music, yes. Well, no, because I had to be able to do it again. Like, we had to be able to get another record that was hot or another. So when we did Petey, that was the definition. That
Right.
that
Right.
defined that defined it for me.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, we can make this happen for real. Like,
That's dope.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because at that point I took on a whole nother role. Like Mello would sit up with Petey every night and they would write the songs and they would put it together. And then Petey and I would go into the room and we would record and put and bring the whole vision to life. Like
Right.
from the beat to the sound effects and all that stuff. And like even like when we need another voice on there, we'd be like, yo, this I'm actually singing on one of the records on PD's album. Like, and
Really?
I forgot until I listened to the album again recently.
You're like,
So
oh, wait a
there's
minute, that was me.
yeah, because we were so creative. The whole thing was just so creative. And Mello he was like a drill sergeant. He had a certain way that he wanted things to go, and we would just work, and he would do what he did, I would do what I did, and then we coupled that with the tremendous talent that PD brought to the table, and it was a no-brainer.
Right. How is working with Busta?
Busta is probably one of the hardest working people that I've ever worked with.
Wow.
He stays in the studio, and I say stays even though I haven't worked with him in a long time. He definitely stays because I see him all the time in the studio too, and I'm gonna just tell you one jewel that he dropped on me, because the night we finished the mix on Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See, he was like, yo, let's take a ride with me. And I was like, all right, where we going? He's like, don't worry about it. We went to Hot 97, and he personally handed the record to Funkmaster Flex. And Flex played that record, had to be like 9 times in a row on the radio, at least 9 times in a row, dropping bomb after bomb after bomb. And I was like, wow.
That's your first record.
Yeah. I was astounded, right? But the amazing part comes to when we left the radio station, we got back in his truck, and he was like, yo, you like that record? I was like, yeah, man, I love that record. He's like, me too. He's like, you really like that record? I said, yeah, I really like that record. It's crazy. He's like, me too. He's like, you know what we gotta do now? I said, what? He said, forget about it. I said, what? I'm like, dude, like, are you crazy? This is just happening right now.
Yeah, wait, what?
Forget about it. He's like, nah, man, you that record's gonna do what it's gonna do. That record is he told me that night that record's gonna be a classic. He's like, that record's gonna be a classic. He's like, it's gonna do what it's gonna do. You have to think about the next thing. You cannot keep living on that. And he was 100% right.
Yeah,
he was 100% right. You know,
but that's why I said you set the bar so high for yourself. You know, it's kind of like when you watch a new show and they come hot out the gate, and then they got to keep up with that, you know, and then season 2 is ass. Like, that's the same with when you get a straight hit, you got to follow up with that, because people going to look at you like, what is he going to do next? And you can't come with some weak stuff.
Yeah.
That's pressure, though. How did you handle that?
Well, okay, so if we go back a little bit, I come from like Mello, very, very humble, you know, and he kind of instilled that in me in a way. He's a little older than me, you know what I mean? And we used to make jokes about him being old, right? But he's a little older than me, and he was very, very humble when it came to anything. Because prior to doing that record, he had already been multi-platinum because he did records for Velvet DeVoe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But as a writer. So that was his first big success as a producer.
Right.
You understand? So, right. So production-wise, we both had that big success together. But he introduced me to a studio called 510, which actually, I don't know if you can see it, but it's on the back of my sweater.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 510 family. That's a studio in Hempstead that doesn't get as much respect as it should, but it's not. But it's the home of the Bomb Squad,
right? But yeah,
and you know, Public Enemy, Leaders of the New School, you know, young black teenagers who none of them were black, right?
But Bomb Squad got a good name though. Like, you know, they got like even over here, like that's. I mean, we knew about Bomb Squad back then, so.
Oh yeah.
They might not get the studio may not get the respect, but the name does.
The person that I gravitated to the most from that place was Eric Sadler, because Eric to me was like the Russell Simmons of beat making. Like, Eric wasn't trying to be flashy. not saying that anybody else was, but just me seeing Eric, he was like a mad scientist, like you know, like just like
cooking up stuff.
Yeah, and you know, and when he had a building in Manhattan where he used to do his production as well, and he would allow me to come sit there and just watch,
right,
and just allow me to be around, you know, and you know, shout to Special Ed too, because Ed is the reason that I even got the hunger to do this to begin with, because Ed allowed me to go on the road with him.
And that's why I asked about your defining moment. That wasn't running around with Ed. That was literally when you and Mello worked on PD stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
PD, that's what made me know.
But those were the stepping stones to you wanting to pursue this type of career.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what it is. Yep.
So talking about, you know, this industry, I had a lot of guests dropping gems and knowledge and information about the industry. One of the questions I always ask, as you probably know, is what are some of the biggest mistakes you've made that turned into your biggest, well, not success, but advice, learning moments, like things that you can now apply to the rest of your career and give out to people that are starting out? What are some of those things that you're like, I did this, and I need to warn people or something?
I got you. Yeah, I have no shame in my game.
Nobody
so
does.
Keep it real. Yeah. So watch this. Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See was the biggest record in the world. So we thought we needed to get a deal from Elektra Records.
Right.
So we set up a meeting with Sylvia Rome, where we can go sit down with Sylvia so we can, you know, talk about a deal.
Right.
We get to Sylvia's office, and Sylvia's like, okay, you guys have my ear. What do you want? We're like, we want a deal. She was like,
but what?
What kind of deal?
Yeah.
She's like, what kind of deal? And so many people, they just think that they want a deal, but they don't have no clue what it is that they really want.
Yeah.
They don't understand.
Yeah.
They don't understand what they want, how to get what they want, what to look for, what you need out of a situation.
Yeah.
How many different types of deals there are.
Yeah.
Like, which type of deal are you looking for? We had no clue. So it was an embarrassing moment at the time.
Yeah.
But it was a very, very big lesson. Yeah. And there was one more lesson that oh man, I don't know if Mello's gonna want me. Listen, so watch this. We were in, and this was kind of a defining moment for me too, because we had a session with, I don't know if you remember a group called 702.
Yes.
Right, we were doing a session with 702. I think we were at D&D Studios. It's either D&D or Quad, right? And we're doing the session, and like I was still kind of green with the whole thing as far as the team was concerned, right? And we didn't set up. One of us set up the session, right? And so we, like, usually whoever sets it up kind of takes the lead,
right?
And when it got set up, there was a bunch of weed smoking and drinking going on, and no work was getting done whatsoever. And I'm just sitting back like, okay, studio life, you know.
Trust me, I'm familiar with that.
And Chuck Bone used to work at Motown. Chuck's still big in the game, but Chuck Bone pulled me into the vocal booth, and he was like, "Hey man, listen, what the hell's going on?" He was the A&R of the project. He's like, "What the hell's going on?" I was like,
"What's going on here on my time?"
He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Ain't shit getting done. What's going on?" He's like, "Yo, I need you to handle this." And for some reason, I was sitting there saying to myself, "Well, why did you pick me?" You know what I'm saying? Like, what made you think that I can go in there and turn all of that around?
Right.
But the thing that Mello used to always say, like, yo, it don't matter what you can do as long as you show up. You show up, you can show out. You know what I'm saying? So when he said that, I was like, okay, cool, boom. I went in the room and I was like, all right, where we at? Let's do this, let's do that. And then everything turned around and we actually ended up getting the song done. You know what I mean? But it was the first time that I felt that I could be assertive in a session.
Yeah.
especially being the most green to the whole thing.
You
Like,
felt like you didn't have the
right,
status yet or the level yet where you could step up and speak on, hey, let's get this work done. Yeah.
right,
And then you
yeah.
know what?
So
There's more people that feel like that in any occasion, not just, you know, studio sessions, but whenever there's work to be done and somebody's fresh, you always feel like I should just wait my turn and, you know, but
yeah,
sometimes you just got to speak up and get things done. We
exactly.
have a saying here in Dutch. Literally translated, it says, "The people with the big mouths get everything done. They own half the world." That's literally translated, and I've always lived up to that saying. I speak up, I get things done.
A squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Oh, that's the one that you guys use.
That squeaky wheel gets the
That's
closed
funny.
mouth.
I never heard that one. I'm going to use it. The squeaky wheel gets
A closed mouth doesn't get fed.
pretty much. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, I always love hearing people's experiences because it does help, especially with that deal. I didn't hear that one yet. I hear people like not reading contracts and stuff, but knowing what you want. So you know whatever the other party has to offer has to match what you want, and then all the details, of course. But that's a good one. Like, everybody wants to have a deal, but what deal?
If you don't know, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? And we really didn't know. You know, so we were really trying to we were learning who we were. We were learning how to handle the business part of what we did.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a big lesson. It was a big lesson, but it helped because what a lot of people don't realize is that everything that you go through is part of the setup to be who you're going to be.
And that's why I don't call it mistakes. That's why I call it lessons, because if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. I mean, obviously you can learn by taking in information and watching documentaries and tutorials and whatnots, but the biggest lessons are the ones where you make a mistake, because you just don't forget that. That gives you a certain feeling inside, like, oh, I don't want to go through this again. That makes it extra, that makes extra sure that you won't do it again. I mean, unless you're, you know, not learning from your mistakes. You have those people too, but, you know, we're not talking about those people.
Right.
They don't get the success. And I'm sure that I've made some of the mistakes twice before I learned my lesson. You know, we're human. That's how we live. That's how we go through life, in anything, in business, personal. That's just how it is. I have a few questions. I see a lot of people putting questions in the comments. If you will be so kind to put them in the question box, it's easier for me to get to them. Let me see. Ooh, there's a lot of questions actually. There's a few questions from you guys that I am actually going to ask in a little bit. Oh, okay. Did you ever get inspiration making a beat dodging cars on Liberty Ave and walking through Liberty Park? Okay, that's a Jimmy question.
Did I ever do what?
Did you ever get inspiration making a beat dodging cars on Liberty Ave and walking through Liberty Park?
Okay, the reason he's saying that is because the place that me and Mello and I had was on Liberty, was on 173rd Street.
Oh, okay.
Right next to Liberty Park. I think it's been renamed after a police officer that was shot in there or whatever. And we had the house that at the time was the house right next to the pool for the park.
Right.
And we used to call that place the Underground Railroad, because so many people would pass through there on their way to stardom. Like, so many people came through there. Like, I mean, some of our favorite, Slick Rick, we had Peter Guns, Busta, Lords of the Underground at the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
You know, Sticky Fingers. You know, it's just so many people who came through there. You know, we did Petey's whole album there, actually.
Wow.
In Queens, a North Carolina album in Queens.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
hey, anything can happen.
yeah. So there was so much inspiration in
there.
that.
Yeah.
And we were also inspired from the hunger, because we were actually, before we did Put Your Hands, we were actually working in a restaurant.
Wow.
You know, and every day excuse my language, but every day when I would get to that restaurant, I would turn to Mello and I would say, I hate this fucking place.
Yeah,
Every single
motivation.
day.
Motivation.
And it motivated me, it motivated us to get up out of
To
there.
work harder
You
to
know?
get out of there. Yep. Yeah, I feel it.
What's crazy is even our song was playing on the radio and we were still working there. I quit and Mello stayed there for another 6 months.
Yo,
and
that's dedication. He knew that he needed that job to put in more, investment in his career. I'm not knocking that. Like I've always said, it's not a shame to have a job to advance your own, situation, whether it's music or anything else. Like just do what you got to do to move forward. Don't be a broke ass artist without inspiration. That's not not the thing. You've worked with so many people. Oh, talking about Lords of the Underground, I got Lord Jazz coming up as well at some point in April. Working with so many people, who are some of your favorite people to work with and why?
All right. The hard workers. Not to say that.
Right.
I started that off wrong.
I
started that off wrong.
Everybody, they all work hard.
Well, I'll keep it real. They all don't work hard.
That was hilarious, though. Your face is like, oh, wait.
Nah, because, you got to be careful what you say, man. People take things the wrong way. But some people's hard work stands out. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. No, everybody's great to work with. We always know that. But who stood out? Yeah. Who really, stood out for you?
Trey Songz definitely stood out. Trey and I used to go into the studio every single night and do maybe
for 5 years. I read.
No, it wasn't that long. It was for a year. For a year straight.
5 days for a year? Oh.
5 days a week for a year.
For a year. Okay, that was it.
Straight. And we we would do. See, one thing I'm not is a liar. So I could have ran with that. Yeah, for 5 years. Nah. We go in there every day for 5 days a week for a year, and we would just do 3 songs a night,
wow,
from scratch. Pick the beat, write the song, record the song, get a rough mix, on to the next one, constantly.
Right.
And that motivation came from working with Busta and Petey, because that's what I learned working with them.
Right.
Every single night it was that same thing, So those 3, Sticky Fingaz, hard worker, somebody who knows what he wants to do.
Right.
He has it very well thought out.
Right. So he knows what to get to. Yeah.
That Black Trash album he put out is probably one of the most underrated albums ever, because if you listen to it straight through, it's a movie in an audio form. It tells a story, right? Beyonce, when she was, we worked with Beyonce when she was fresh off of Jumpin'.
Mm-hmm.
No, not Jumpin'. No. Fresh off of their first single. Yeah. So, and the reason I say Beyonce, not to say that the other girls didn't work, but Beyonce was the workhorse. Kelly worked hard too, but Beyonce, she made her presence known in the studio. At she was 17. At 17, no, she was 16, because Kelly's older than her. She was 16.
But that's why she is who she is now. If you have that type of drive, that's different. You could be a great artist, but if you combine that with a certain type of drive and work ethic, that's the formula, really, the winning formula. Combined with some other factors. And again, this is not to say that it wasn't great to work with these other people, but like you said, you were inspired by the drive and the work ethic from Busta and Petey. But not everybody gets that same that same fire in them. You can see somebody working hard and be like, cool, I love it, I respect it, and then just keep doing what you do. But it had to have been in you already.
Well, another group that was very, very inspirational working with them, because of the way that they actually followed direction and were willing to take on challenges, was Channel Live.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we did a couple of records with Channel Live, and this is where Mello, if you ever work with Mello, Mello's going to get something out of you that you never really thought you had. And Mello, we had this one beat called The Wild Horse, and Mello's whole thing was, we're going to tell them that nobody else can ride this beat, and they're going to want to ride this beat. And it was a tough beat to ride, but the challenge alone made them want to, and they got on the beat, and matter of fact, I believe one of them Mello might have even made one of them rewrite their verse, you know,
Wow.
like, because like, hey, look, you know, and it became like this project, this challenge for us to get this record done, and we got it done. And it was, they just the way that their egos weren't involved. You know,
Right.
I've worked with
They
some
just
egos
wanted to make
before, you
something
know.
great. Yeah.
They just wanted to be great. Exactly. You know, and to this day, I still talk to Hakeem. I haven't spoken to Tuffy in a while, but last time I seen him was last time I was out in LA. But they're great people as well as artists. So, you know.
Right. I see some questions coming in, but I'm also looking at the time, and I do want to go back to you, Buddah, the person. You're doing a lot of other things too. Like we've talked about the music mainly. Can you tell me in short, or us in short, how you tapped into your other creative talents?
Okay. Pretty much the same way that I got into the music thing, right? Okay, so when I first started with the music, I'm a big fan of the fact that if there's a hole that needs to be filled, a void that needs to be filled, fill it, right?
Right.
And I said my partners, Epitome and Shamello, had both been doing this before me. So my thing was, I didn't want to come to the table with just a fork and an appetite. I wanted to bring a dish. I wanted to be an effective part of what we were doing. And the only way to do that was to make myself an asset, because if you don't make yourself an asset, you're just another asshole, right? And we don't need another asshole, right? So I had to make myself an asset. So I had to figure out how I can fit into it. So the technical side, I was able to bring to that. And it enabled us to be able to cut out middlemen. Like, I started recording artists working on PD's album. Like, prior to that, we were paying people to come into our own house to record.
Right.
I started recording, working on PD's album. So I recorded that whole album. You know what I mean? And it was a lesson, and it showed me that I could do it, because not only did we did we finish an album, but that album got nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was more confirmation.
Another confirmation,
you know? Right. And then I don't like paying a lot of people to do stuff that I can do. So a lot of things I had to figure out how to do, so I wouldn't have to. No, I'm just saying, like, my whole thing is, before I just start shelling out money, I need to know how this works.
Yourself, yeah. And is it worth paying this much money for? You know, that's really what it is. I'm the same way.
Because I'm not against paying someone.
No.
But I need to know what it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I need to know how to do some of it.
Yeah.
So that at this point, when it's you're not telling me that's going to take 5 hours to fly vocals.
But yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know, because I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So
you don't want to get tricked.
Right. So, you know, so I cutting out middlemen. Respect to the middlemen. No disrespect, but cutting out middlemen was a big factor in me learning how to do a lot of the stuff that I needed to do, that we needed to do. You know. So the whole photography thing came in because we need to be able to get album covers done. We need to be able to get pictures done, photo shoots. We need to get all that stuff done. Photoshop came. We need to learn how to edit. We needed logos. Shout out to Chase, who did our first logo for us. You know what I mean? We needed to learn how to get all of these things, and all of these things cost money.
Yeah.
And if you can't do them yourself, then you're going to spend a lot of money.
Right.
So I learned how to do these things to save us money. And now all of those things make me money.
Make money, yeah. That's the income stream. So first it saved you money, now it made you money. So that was a really good investment, because you're actually investing in your own development of your talent and skills in order to be in a position where, you know, you can do it, but you can also, you know, have somebody else do it and know how you want it done. That's definitely one of the things that, you know, not everybody can do. Honestly, I know what I should do. Huh?
Shout out to my man Blitz, who's in the room. He just came in there.
Yeah, I see it.
That's my dude who actually he's the dude who first mentioned Shamello's name to me ever. First time I ever heard his name came out of that dude's mouth.
Wow.
So shout out to Blitz.
Shout out to Blitz. Don't know you, but thank you for tuning in. Yeah, so, you know, developing different talents in order to be efficient, to work efficient is a big thing, but not everybody can actually do that. And I know that I should make more time to do certain things that are helpful in my industry, but I don't make the time for it. So I actually, you know, give that work out to people that need it. So, you know, in my network of independent entrepreneurs and creatives, I just try to, you know, source it out to those that actually need the money and need the work. That's how I kind of work efficient, I guess. I see.
Again, too. I know you're running short on time, but I just want to say, like, another reason why I was able to do some of the things is because, like I said, Mello had faith in me. So, like, I ended up mixing a record for Public Enemy. You know, on one of the later albums, the album just before they went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Mello was like, "Yo, we're doing a record with Public Enemy. I need you to mix it." And I'm sitting there saying to myself, okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I'm like, okay, no problem. And I ended up mixing the record, and he just always put me in position to win. You know, and
that's people that you need around you. Like, seriously, like, you were definitely hearing these stories, not having known him. You know, that's definitely a blessing to you. Not everybody comes up like that and has that person in their corner to put them in that position, but also to grow them and nurture their talents like that. So yeah, that's definitely something that, you know, if people are watching and you have that person, be aware of it. Even if you're not aware of it, you know, take a look around you, like, damn, who's that person to me? And, you know, make sure you keep that close to you. I want to shout out Keith Shockley. I'll have him as a guest as well. So all the families in here, shout out to everybody tuning in, Battle for the Throne family. I appreciate everybody. We have a couple minutes left.
Bomb Squad in the house.
Everybody's in the house. Yo, you got a lot of good audience coming in here, Buddha. You are loved. You are a loved person.
I love them too.
Quickly, I keep saying quickly because we got a couple minutes left. What are you working on right now?
Well, right now, back to Mello, right? Actually, my goal is to, because he actually did a book from Ghetto to Greater, and he has an audio book that he actually put together before he passed, but never got a chance to put out. And him and a young man by the name of Young West, they sat together and they worked on this book, this audio book. And my goal is to help bring that book to the public. That's one of my main focuses right now, so that people can still hear his voice and he can still be present with us, even though I know he's with me. I just want him to be with y'all because y'all need some too.
Oh, you know people are saying, like, he's in here. He's watching this interview right now.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. Like, he's speaking through me right now. So, like, I mean, like, I'm just being completely honest with you. Like, so that's something that's very, very important and dear to my heart. I want to make sure that happens.
Yeah, that gets put out.
Wes is going to be the executive producer of that book. I mean, of that audio book.
Right.
So we just want to bring that whole thing together, make it be what it needs to be for Mello. That's my main goal. Also, too, I mean, like I said, pictures. Creative Arts USA is my company.
Yes.
It's a multimedia company, from everything from websites to video, photography, consulting. You know, it all comes at a fee, but it comes.
Yeah, so if you need some of this or one of or more of the services, hit up Creative Arts USA.
Yep, at Creative Arts on Instagram and Twitter, and creativeartsusa.com on the web.
Yes, awesome. I'm just overwhelmed with all the people in here. Like, yo, I see everybody. Ali, I see you, Nature. I want to say I'm sorry that I can't get to all the questions because we're actually having a great conversation and I don't just want to keep, you know, interrupting the conversation. But I want to thank you, everybody, for all the questions. Buddha, I absolutely love you. Like, you were always so serious in the rooms on Clubhouse, but you made me laugh this interview, yo. I'm gonna screenshot that face you made because that's, oh my gosh, that was so hilarious. That was, oh my gosh, yeah, I will never forget that face. That's just imprinted in my mind now.
Well, I love to joke around. I mean,
Yeah,
don't get it
you
twisted.
were so
We
serious though.
well now okay, here we go back to Mello, right? So watch this. Mello was always such a nice guy that I always had to be a little bit more serious to balance out the room, to balance out what was going on with us. Because people would always look at us like, okay, do we have to worry about them or can we just roll over them? You know?
Right.
So I always had to be a little bit different to kind of counteract him because everybody loves Mello, and it was
Everybody
like one of
loves
those
Buddha
things.
too. I see
No, no,
it.
no, no, no. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm not saying that they don't,
Yeah,
but
no, I know.
I just had to make sure that we were able to navigate this business with a certain way. So, but I'm a lovable guy. I'm
I
a lovable
see.
guy.
You won me over. I mean, we were cool, but you were a little bit serious. I'm just going to say it here. I mean, it's no disrespect or any negative things, but yeah, it was like, I respect you, for everything you've done in the game and all the knowledge that you contribute and give out. And so I definitely needed you on here, but it's nice to see that we can joke around too. I like that. So thank you for
Of
showing
course,
me
of
that
course,
side of you.
of course, of course.
Before we go, give us your, if you have one, life advice or motto that you want to give out to the world.
One of the things that I live by is paying attention to detail and taking your time to do things right. So the saying goes, if you don't have the time to do it right, you must have the time to do it over. Because if you
Yeah,
don't do it right, you're gonna have to do it over, right?
that's true.
So a lot of times people waste time um, rushing through things only to have to go back because they want to get somewhere fast or do something, and then something happens, and then they end up either having to do it over or something tragic happens, and they end up wishing that they would have taken the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
So take the time to do things correctly, to do them right, so
yeah.
that you don't have to do them over, and things will work out a lot better.
Yes. I hate to do things half-assed. I'd rather just not do it at all than do things half-assed. That's my saying. uh, but thank you so much again for this great conversation. I appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to talk to me and to inspire the people that are watching this. That's what this is about. I learned a lot from you and about you, and I'm looking forward to one day riding bikes together or eating vegan recipes from Mr. Lee in Houston. Whatever we can do, I look forward to it. And yeah, thank you. We'll
Thank
definitely be
you.
talking. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. And everybody that rocks with me, follow Pay Fresh on Instagram. Yo,
Thank you.
listen, one of the greatest souls that I've met on any of these platforms.
Oh,
Pay, I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
thank you so much. I appreciate that. But
I
we'll
love
talk.
you, Mello.
Yes, shout out to Mello because he was
All
definitely
right.
part of this conversation.
Most
All right.
definitely.
Thank you so much. So can
All
you
right.
see yourself out because this thing doesn't give me
Yeah.
the okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I've watched enough of your things to know that
I
I got
know
to kick
you've seen
myself
it.
out. Bye.
Bye. Oh man, that was so great. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. That was a wonderful conversation. I appreciate everybody that's always supportive. I appreciate the new people tuning in. If you don't know the What Now series, you can watch all of them on my IGTV with some great legends and inspiring people. A lot of great talks. Look back, there are also a lot of great artists lined up. I have super wonderful guests that are inspiring and motivating. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I see you, Jamie. I see you, Big Man. I see you, Stacy. I see you, Ali. I see you, Nature. I see everybody. Thank you. I just, I have a hard time leaving y'all when it's this great, but I'll be back on Monday with another great guest. And then the rest of the month is pretty much booked up as well. So I wish everybody a great evening. I have to give shout outs to my dad. Today is the second anniversary of his passing. So I'm gonna have a shot of whiskey on him. So whoever wants to do a shot of whiskey later on, do that on my dad. And of course, one for Nipsey. Nipsey and my dad shared the same day of passing. So yeah, tune into Clubhouse Battle for the Throne at 6 o'clock Eastern time for a tribute to Nipsey with Mr. Lee. Yes, thank you all. Have a whiskey on my dad, on my pops. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.